Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Japan and we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel many times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the years, a good number of different styles, and if people were to ask me about this brewery, I would just say that they are very solid all round. Now, the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I think I've had from them once or twice, if memory serves me correctly, but don't quote me on that. It's a style that I know they can do very well, but like I said, this brewery is very solid all round in my experience. So it's always nice to try new things from them as well. But this beer is a newer version of one that is quite well respected from them, so I have to say I'm quite curious to see what this is going to have in store for us. So hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to Nagano Prefecture, which is a little bit to the northwest of Tokyo, and we're going to go to a little place called Yamanouchi, which means that we're going to have a look at another beer from Tamamura Honten and their Shiga Kogen beer range. So this particular beer is a new version of the Snow Monkey IPA. They're calling this one Blue Label. The original one, of course, is a black label, but this is a New England Hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA, coming in at 6% ABV, and apparently this particular version of Snow Monkey is brewed to be a little bit less bitter, and they were calling it a more kind of modern take on the IPA. We reviewed the original Snow Monkey on the channel a couple of years back, and that was a really nice beer, and it's always a very popular one as well. This beer and the original one are brewed for the Snow Monkey Festival, the Beer and Brands Festival that they do every year. But yeah, definitely cool to get this beer to review for you here on the channel, because this is the first year they're releasing the Blue Label, and this is yet another one that I picked up at liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Yamaichi here in Osaka. So check them out as well if you get the chance. I'll put the link to their Facebook page in the video description below. But let's get started with this one and see what it's all about. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Tamamura Honten, Shiga Kogen beer, and we will no doubt add more to that list in the near future. I think I've got another 2 beers to review from them this time while I'm out in Japan, so you'll see those soon as well. But there's all the usual social media down there too. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support you give is massively appreciated, and remember you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is that takes your fancy, and you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries as well. You'll find this one in the Japanese playlist along with a number of other things, and we will be adding to that quite a little bit over the next wee while. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about the Tamamura Honten company and their Shiga Kogen beer range. So, Tamamura Honten, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Yamanouchi in Nagano Prefecture here in Japan, a few hundred kilometres to the northwest of Tokyo in the Tohoku region. Now, this area is particularly well known for its ski slopes and its hot springs, but also the Nagano Prefecture is well known for its Nihonshu, or Japanese sake production too. You get some really good ones from up there, and it's a place I do need to go and visit. But the Tamamura Honten company has history going back to 1805 when they began brewing sake, and more recently they started brewing their beer under the name Shiga Kogen beer, which is in English it would be like Shiga Heights or Shiga Mountain beer, and they began brewing under this name in 1998. But they also produce wine and a few other things as well, from what I understand. But the head brewer is Sato Eigo. He joined the company in 2003, and the idea to brew beer actually came when the number of skiers visiting the resort began to dwindle, and so in May 2004 they applied for their brewing license, and they received it 4 months later. So they bought their brewing equipment and they trained for a week at a brewery down in Kyushu before beginning their own commercial activities. And when they started brewing, they only had a consultant for help, and you know, safe to say it's gone very, very well for them. But Tamamura Honten produce their own hops, sake rice, barley, buckwheat and blueberries, and they actually have their own hop variety that they developed as well called Shinsu Waze, which is a hybrid between Czech Sats hops and a local variety. They originally used it as a bittering hop for lagers, but they now use it as an aroma hop. I haven't actually seen the beer that they use it in, but I think they use it in a variety of different beers that they produce actually. So that's something I do need to look into a little bit more, because it would be cool if they did like a single hop IPA with Shinsuwazi at some stage, so you could see what this hop's all about. But the brewery has 2 tasting rooms, which they call Tepper rooms. There's one at the brewery itself, and also one at the Shiga Kogen Ichinose Hotel Chalet Shiga, which is a bit of a mouthful, but it looks very, very nice when you look at it on the website. The bottle art that you get on these beers is also very distinctive. This one is a little bit, the Snow Monkey one is a little bit different compared to what you'll normally see from Shiga Kogen beer, but most of the artwork is designed by Tanaka Noriyuki. And as of April 2023, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 115 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and there will no doubt be more as time goes on. But like I say, Tamamura Honten and Shiga Kogen beer are they're one of the very well established Japanese craft breweries, and one that you definitely need to check out if you get the chance. Since my first trip to Japan back in 2014, there's been a number of beers from Tamamura Honten and Shiga Kogen. So yeah, these guys really know what they're doing, and they're definitely worth checking out. So yeah, this is one of 3 beers you'll see from Shiga Kogen this time on the channel, so you can look forward to some more coming up a wee bit later on. 2 very exciting beers, I think, after this one as well to look at. But yeah, that is everything I can really say about Tamamura Honten and Shiga Kogen beer for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can of course check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's have a little look at this beer itself. So like I said to you at the start of the video, the Snow Monkey IPA was originally brewed for the Snow Monkey Festival, which is a beer and brands festival that Tamamura Honten host every year. You can see the bottle cap on this one there, Tamamura Honten, I think it says, yeah, Tamamura Honten since 1805. But yeah, this year they decided to release a new version of Snow Monkey that's brewed to be a little bit less bitter. I don't know if they changed some of the hops in this one as well, but it contains 4 varieties of hops from the US, Australia, and I think New Zealand as well, if I remember correctly. But this bottle is 350 millilitres, 330 millilitres, my apologies. And this cost me in the region of like 800 Japanese yen. So that is about, what's it going to be? It's probably about $7 American, so that translates to about 6 euros, and maybe a little bit more than £5 sterling, something like that at today's prices. So yeah, not bad, I have to say. But like we said earlier, a 6% New England Hazy IPA, this one. Let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. There you can see, I'm not sure how well the camera likes, or how much the camera likes the colour of this label actually. It's not showing you so much. The blue and the yellow doesn't work well for the camera that much, but still pretty nice. So let's get this guy out into the glass and see what it's all about. So we'll do this. And this was, at the time of filming, this was a very, very new release actually from Shiga Kogen. So I'm drinking this beer very, very fresh from what I understand. So yeah, anyway, it's poured pretty much as you would expect of a New England Hazy IPA. So before the head disappears on this one, we can say that it's poured with about a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say more cream coloured head than anything else. The bubbles in this one are about medium size. Not sure how well they're going to show up on this camera, but you can have a little look and see for yourself. But yeah, in terms of colour, I would say that this beer is one of the more kind of, it's got a little bit more of an orangey tinge to it, this one. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do, or any adjuncts that you put in, will affect the colour of your beer as well. But you don't often have to care about that when it comes to any kind of IPA. But yeah, nice. Different varieties of malt in this one. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass. A few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there. But overall, it does look very, very nice. You can see the head has faded away to just be a thin foamy layer on the top now, and you've got a ring around the edge of the glass there too, which is a little bit thicker, but lovely looking beer, this one. I think it goes together pretty well. Now, the level of haze in this one, it's kind of about what you would expect from a 6% New England hazy. The level of haze in these beers, of course, is usually to do with the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree the yeast, and that can vary from beer to beer and brewery to brewery and so on. So yeah, there's not really a rule about that according to the alcohol content and things. But yeah, it does look pretty nice, this one, I have to say, and pretty much as you would expect from a New England hazy IPA. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation. But let's have a wee look at the aroma of this one then and see how we go on. Very, very curious to see what this beer is all about. Oh yeah, it smells pretty nice. So I'm going to say this is a pretty oaty, and it's a pretty oaty and barley malt leaning New England IPA, and it leans quite a bit toward the tropical fruit notes as well. As I've said on the channel many times before, for me with the New England IPA there are 6 different things you should consider when looking at the flavour of these beers. So they can be a little bit more kind of farmhousey and yeasty, they can be a little bit rye leaning and grainy. Those 2 flavours are a bit more common in American brewed IPAs, I would say, or New England's. To be more specific, you've also got the wheaty bitiness, the oaty creaminess, the barley malt bread, and the sweet side of things. So these are the 6 varieties, the 6 different things you should consider when looking at the New England hazy IPA. So yeah, in terms of that, this one for me is quite oaty leaning, but also quite barley malty and bready as well, actually. So yeah, I do like how that goes together in this particular beer. So, yeah, for me, the aroma of this one is definitely quite nice. But let's just try and break it down a wee bit and describe it for you a bit more in depth before we taste the beer. So, for me, you've got a little backbone in there. You've got a wee bit of that kind of fresh, white bready bread crust that you always expect from this beer style. So, yeah, lovely little bit. Fresh white bready bread crust. There's a teeny little hint of woodiness in there, but big fluffy white bread. Yeah, big fluffy white bread in there. You can smell the wheat sort of thickening this beer out as well. I do get a little bit of that wheaty bitiness in the back of the nose, I should say, not in the back of the palate. So there's a wee bit of wheaty bitiness in there. Lots of barley malt bread, and then you do also have the oaty character in this one as well. Now, as I've said many a time on the channel as well, you can use the oats quite often with this style to determine kind of how old the beer is, how fresh it is, to put it in another sense. So the creamier the oat smell, the fresher the New England IPA is, the drier the smell, the older it is. This one is really nice and creamy in that particular respect, so you know this is pretty fresh. So lovely creamy oaty character in this one. There's a little degree of sweetness to this too. It's got a little bit of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotch type thing going on. And that would also explain why this beer is a little bit more orange in colour. They've maybe used a little bit of like carapils or carahale or something like that in this one to give it a wee bit more sweetness. So I wouldn't be surprised if this beer is a little bit sweeter when we taste it. But yeah, on the malty side of things, it's pretty much as you would expect. Bit of bread crust, fluffy white bread. You can smell the thicker wheaty character in there with a wee bit of bitiness. The oaty creaminess is there, and you've also got that sweet kind of caramelly butterscotchy note coming out of this beer too. So yeah, I like that with this one. Yeah, on the hoppy side of things, the green component of this beer is quite interesting. For me, it's quite bright, and with IPAs again, you have 3 different types of hoppings you can use. Early addition hopping within the first hour of the wort boil, that gives you mainly bitterness. Late addition hopping within the last half hour of the wort boil, that usually gives you a little bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma. And dry hopping afterwards is all about the flavour and aroma. So yeah, what that translates to in the aroma is that beers that use early addition hopping often smell a little bit deeper and a bit more dank in their green component, whereas late addition and dry hopped beers, they tend to smell a little bit more, they tend to be a little bit brighter in their green component. If you have dry hopping, if you have early addition hopping in there, it tends to dominate the other aspects of the aroma. So yeah, the way this one goes together though is very, very nice. So it gets a big thumbs up. But for me, it does have a little touch of earthiness to it. This one, but not too much. There's a little touch of earthiness, a little bit of herbal character, but really for me it's a very bright, it's a very bright, floral aromatic character that comes out of this one. It has got a little bit of depth and dank to it, but not too much, I would say. Good little bit of zesty, grassy character at the front of the nose with this beer as well. So yeah, that's also worth, that's definitely worth checking out too. Yeah. So on the fruity side of things, I would say that this beer leans a little bit more toward the tropical fruit side of things. For me, there's a good little bit of passion fruit in this one. So yeah, definitely a little bit of passion fruit in there. But then beyond that, you've got quite a bit of juicy mango, a lot of apricot actually. There's a good bit of apricot and pineapple coming out of this beer for me, which I reckon it could be like Victoria's Secret, or in this one I don't think it's Galaxy. It doesn't seem quite pungent enough to be Galaxy. So I want to say there's a little bit of Victoria's Secret in here, but there's a variety of New Zealand hops that this could be. You know, it could be a little bit of Raka, a little bit of Riwaka, something like that. Yeah, Idaho 7 would be another candidate for this one actually, because it's got that soft pineapple-y note to it. So yeah, for me, the fruity side of this beer, it's passion fruit, mangoes, apricots, pineapples, these sorts of things that are coming out of this one. I don't get much in the way of like a lemony lime note out of this. It really is more tropical fruit that you're getting from this one, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that covers everything we really need to say about the aroma of this beer. As I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy that before you get stuck into this one. But I think it is about time that we have a taste of this beer and see what it's all about. So yeah, this one is the Snow Monkey IPA, 6% ABV, the blue label version from Tamamura Honten and their Shiga Kogen beer range in Yamanouchi, Nagano here in Japan. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, cheers, kanpai. Oh yeah. First impression of this one is, this is a really nice, light and quite an easy drinking beer. I have to say that about it straight away. Yeah, it is a really nice, clean, easy drinking New England IPA. That is one thing I would say in my experience with the Shiga Kogen beers. They're always really bang on in terms of their flavour and always really solid, but they just have this element of cleanliness and drinkability to them. And I think I've said this about Japanese craft beer generally. Quite often they do have that clean mouthfeel. In Japan, beer is really viewed as something to kind of clear the throat with before you go on to the whiskies or the sakes or stuff like that. They want their alcohol to be drinkable here. I think it's definitely fair to say that. And you see that kind of idea translates into the craft beers. In my opinion, they're always, you always just have this slightly lighter and more drinkable mouthfeel with the Japanese beers, but still packed full of flavour, especially from the better breweries. But yeah, the flavour profile on this one is really nice. So, where do we start with this one then? I will say, on first impression, it really does come across as more of an oaty leaning New England IPA, this one. The wheat, the more that you smell this beer, the more wheat you get out of it. But then when you actually drink it, it really shows a little bit more of its kind of oaty, creamy side. The green component is kind of as I expected, and the fruity side of things is as I expected from the aroma. So yeah, this is going to be quite nice. Let's break it down and describe it for you more in depth. So, middle third of your palate then, you can feel the backbone of this beer is that lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust. That absolutely comes out of this beer in the base. Further forward on that middle third of your palate, there's a wee touch of kind of woodiness in there. And then, yeah, you've got that wee touch of woodiness in there. You have, you've got that wee touch of woodiness in there, and on top of that, you've got a fluffy, white bready layer, and I do like how that goes together. So yeah, a little bit of bread crust, a little bit of woodiness, fluffy white bread in there, good wee bit of wheaty character, and yeah, I think the way that that goes together is quite nice actually. The wheat really takes a bit of a back seat in this one, the more that I think about it. So yeah, above the wheaty layer, you have the oaty, creamy character coming out of the beer. It's almost like a little circle in the middle of your palate. So in the dead centre and kind of down the middle line of your tongue, in that middle third of your palate, you can feel it's quite creamy and quite oaty, and then as you move further out toward the edges of that middle third of your palate, it's got a wee bit more dryness to it, absolutely. So I do like how that that goes together in this one. So you feel that little bit of a dry, oaty character in there, but still you know this beer is very fresh. In the dead centre of your palate, you can feel there's a little circle there where you have a wee bit of you've got a little bit of that Werther's original butter candy, butterscotchy type thing coming out of this one. So I do like how that goes together actually. It goes together very, very nicely. But yeah, flavour-wise, this one is really nice on that. You get a little bit more sweetness out of this beer the further into the aftertaste you go. So dead centre of the palate, as I say, a little bit of Werther's original butter candy, butterscotch, and as you move out toward the edges of the palate there, you get a little bit more kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of qualities coming out of this beer. So yeah, that's quite interesting, I have to say. Yeah, I think that covers everything we really need to say about the middle third of the palate in this beer. So the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you do get a little bit of a kind of white bready. How do you say? Yeah, you get a little bit of white bready, kind of farmhousey bread build up in there, and then the back third of the palate, the flavour profile there is quite similar. But as I always say, drier and more bitter flavours come out further back on the palate in comparison to further forward. You get the more sweeter flavours there. But yeah, the base of that back third of the palate, a little bit of white, fresh white bready bread crust there again, but it feels a little bit drier. You've got a little layer almost, I feel, of a kind of wholemeal brown bready character in there, and that feels a little bit taller and a bit more airy. Above that, you get the white bready layer, which feels taller and more airy once again, and then you can feel above that, you do get a little bit of wheaty bitiness in there, which is quite nice. So a little bit of wheaty bitiness in there above that, and then beyond that you have a little bit of a kind of more farmhousey, yeasty character. So you can feel that light, airy, farmhousey, yeasty character in there, and then the way that goes together is again really quite nice. For me, the farmhousey, yeasty notes, there's a little bit of woodiness in there. There's a little bit of it's like a more light, airy, kind of grainy, bready note there, but definitely on the back third of the palate you can feel the flavour is taller, and as you come further forward into the middle third of the palate, it just condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. But I really do like how everything goes together in this one. But yeah, I like that about this beer. I do like how everything pieces together in this one. On the hoppy side of things, I think we've covered the malty and yeasty side of the beer as much as we need to. On the hoppy side of things, green component, back corners of the palate, as I kind of thought in the aroma, you do have a little touch of earthiness in this one. As you come further forward though, you can feel it gets a little bit herbal, and as you push toward the kind of front corners of the palate, it gives you a little bit more kind of floral aromaticity and things. And then yeah, round the front curve of the tongue, it is a wee bit lighter, and more grassy. Pardon me, I would say. So yeah, the green component is quite indicative of late addition and dry hopping. I don't think this beer really has very much in the way of early addition hopping, to be honest with you. So quite a low bitterness IPA, this one, I would say. But yeah, on the I think on the fruity side of things, then we'll look at the front third of the palate now. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of a bready build up in there, which is quite nice. So yeah, nice little bit of fresh, fluffy, white bready character in there. The base of that front third of your palate has a little bit more bread crust to it, a little bit of a denser white bread in there too, and then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So on the fruity side of things, yeah, for me, this one's definitely, there's something familiar about this. The hops that are used in this one I have had on several occasions before. So, on the fruity side of things, for me, if we go to the back of that front third of the palate, there's a little touch of that more kind of pungent, passion fruity note coming out of the beer. Then as you move further forward, it does give you a lot of like juicy mango, to be honest with you. As you reach the middle of that front third of your palate, it's got more of, as you reach the middle of that front third of your palate, you've got more of a, you have got a little bit more of a kind of, what do we say, a bit of an there's a sort of apricot-y character in there, and the dryness of the apricot carries forward, but on top of that you've got a wee touch of a more kind of oily and juicy pineapple, and as you push toward the very front tip of your tongue, there is a little hint of like a very slightly lemony, kind of limey quality coming out of this one. So yeah, I do like how all of that pieces together in this beer. So it gets a big thumbs up from me, to be honest. I really like how this beer goes together. Nice, just juicy, drinkable New England IPA. But like I say, the thing where this is that makes this a bit different from the European or American ones is the level of drinkability and the mouthfeel. So let's go on and round off the review with a wee look at that. For me, this beer, it's kind of mid-bodied to bottom end of mid-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. Yeah, I would say carbonation in this beer is very, very smooth. Like I said, it's quite light and quite wet in its mouthfeel. The hoppy side of this beer, in terms of its IBUs, I would say this is somewhere in the region of like 25 IBUs. I don't think it's the full 30, to be honest with you. 25 IBUs is what's come into mind with this particular beer for me. The malt base, like we said, it's got a little bit of bread crusty dryness to it. It's got a wee bit of smoothness in there, and it's also just got a little bit of sweetness too, but not overly much. The fruity side of this beer really leans toward the kind of tropical fruity side of things. Like I say, I've got a feeling that it could be a bit of Idaho 7. It could also be a little bit of Victoria's Secret. I think it's not quite pungent enough to be Galaxy. It would have a little bit more grapefruit and stuff to it, this beer, if it was Galaxy, I think. But yeah, there are a few other New Zealand hops like Raka, Rewaka, Kohatu and stuff like that it could be. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know this is a combination of American, Australian and I think New Zealand hops as well. But yeah, all in all, a very nice, drinkable, smooth, light and drinkable New England IPA for me. So quite a good festival beer, I have to say. The blue label, this one, sorry, not the yellow label. But yeah, both Snow Monkey IPAs are very, very nice. It's been a wee while since I've had the original one. I maybe should have got one of those too. But yeah, both types of Snow Monkey IPA are definitely worth checking out. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. This one was the Snow Monkey Blue Label New England Hazy IPA, 6% ABV from Tamamura Honten and their Shiga Kogen beer range from Yamanouchi in Nagano here in Japan. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Shiga Kogen and Tamamura Honten as well. And we will no doubt return to these guys at some point in the near future. I do need to try one of the Tamamura Honten Nihon shoes at some stage, so we'll see about making that happen. But again, thank you for watching. Check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll see you guys in another review very shortly. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and kampai.